Welcome to Majical Musings.
Thank you very much for having me.
My question to you, Ajmal, is somebody who is doing so well, why would you put all that at risk?
Because I'm not a coward. If something is wrong, you should stand up and speak out about it.
What's wrong, Ajmal?
Everything's wrong. What's not wrong at the moment? There's a genocide going on. Nobody is talking about it. It's being brushed under the carpet. It's a little bit uncomfortable for us to be watching the clips of children being massacred, of the entire nation of Palestine just being obliterated. I can't just sit in silence and allow that to go unnoticed and off my radar and me focusing on other things. I just can't. My moral conscience doesn't allow it. It's a frustration, and the frustration is aimed at everyone. I mean, I am surrounded by professionals and everyone is too bloody scared to speak up because just in case it affects their job. How sad is that? I mean, that is the extent of the power that has been infiltrated by the Zionist lobby groups into our everyday lives. The fact that people can't even speak up because they're scared for their jobs.
Language like this can get you cancelled.
Yeah.
Does that not bother you?
No, it doesn't.
The genocide itself, from the ICC's perspective, as it's been investigated, has started being investigated from October the 7th onwards. But what the Palestinians have had to endure over the last 70 odd years is no less than what's happening now, except for in higher volume.
The Christian persecuted the Jew, but the Muslim had to give up his house thousands of miles away.
100%.
And where is the justice in that? No, it's just, where is the justice? It beggars belief.
Yeah, Hitler was a Christian.
Yeah.
And majority of the Western world follows the Christian theology. Yet, you're right, it's the Arabs and the Muslims who have to
pay the price.
Pay the price.
And if they object to paying the price, they're classed and labelled as terrorists.
And anti-Semitic.
Yep.
Why is everybody bullying one little state, the only democracy in the Middle East and the only state in the Middle East or any state in the world which belongs to the Jews? So they can't even make their own minds up. Are they a democracy or are they a theocracy?
If you want to make serious money, I'm talking mega serious money, get into weapons.
Welcome to Majical Musings.
Thank you very much for having me. Delighted to be here.
It's a pleasure having you in the cave with us.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you something because we were having conversations before you even got here, and the idea was to talk about different topics. We started talking about business-related stuff, which we had done with Saf in Birmingham. But there were things within our conversations which were like, hang on, this needs a separate podcast.
Yeah.
My question to you, Ajmal, is somebody who is doing so well, right, in different facets of your life. You've grown a massive following on TikTok. For those of you who don't know, check out Ajmal Mushtaq on TikTok. Millions of views. Very successful businessman. Why would you put all that at risk for the sake of getting your truth out?
That's a very simple question because I'm not a coward. If something is wrong, you should stand up and speak out about it.
What's wrong, Ajmal?
Everything's wrong. What's not wrong at the moment? There's a genocide going on. Nobody is talking about it. It's being brushed under the carpet. It's a little bit uncomfortable for us to be watching the clips of children being massacred, of the entire nation of Palestine just being obliterated. And here we are living our life. And I'm conflicted. I can't just sit in silence and allow that to go unnoticed and off my radar and me focusing on other things. I just can't. My moral conscience doesn't allow it.
When you say nobody's talking about it, is there anyone in particular or any group of people in particular who you're aiming this statement at?
It's a frustration, and the frustration is aimed at everyone. I mean, I am surrounded by professionals and everyone is too bloody scared to speak up because just in case it affects their job. How sad is that? I mean, that is the extent of the power that has been infiltrated by the Zionist lobby groups into our everyday lives. The fact that people can't even speak up because they're scared for their jobs.
Do you know anyone who is affected?
Yeah. I mean, I know lots of people who have been either cancelled. I mean, that's pretty obvious in the news. When you watch the news, you're on social media. There's quite a few people that have been, let go. They've been sacked. And just generally, people are very uncomfortable talking about the genocide.
When you say that it's a Zionist-controlled media, elaborate on that. What do you mean?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that the Zionist media or the Zionist lobby groups have got very deep influence in our media, to the point where the newscasters aren't even allowed to mention the word genocide, despite it being a genocide. And there's so much evidence of it being a genocide, yet the BBC News are still not calling it a genocide.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've come across studies that have been done in terms of the language that's been used by different media outlets, particularly the BBC.
Yeah,
and how they've used emotive language for the Israeli side. Any damages or any losses occurred on that side. But when it comes to the Palestinian side and people in Gaza, they don't use as many emotive words.
80 dead in an airstrike. It's so generic. It's so soft. Had it been the other way around, it's like, and we've all seen the evidence. Russian airstrike kills 80 people in Ukraine. It's very specific and it's very detailed. Yet when it comes to the Palestinians, it's all watered down, and that's frustrating.
Language like this can get you cancelled.
Yeah,
does that not bother you?
No, it doesn't. I'm blessed. I mean, we were, just for the viewers, we were at a black tie dinner last night. We're listening to a very successful businessman who's got a multi-billion-pound property portfolio, right? That's one extreme. And what did I show you on my phone while he was talking?
Yeah, you showed me a place in Gaza being blown to smithereens.
Yeah. And I shouldn't speak up about that. My life, regardless of whether I'm successful, I'm in this country. I'm blessed. We can breathe the air. We can eat food. We've got a warm home. We've got everything that we need to live. Yet people aren't speaking out against people who have been, genocided, if that's even a word, for over 400 days.
Yeah. Some would argue that it's been more than 400 days.
Yeah.
Although the genocide itself, from the ICC's perspective, as it's been investigated, has started being investigated from October the 7th onwards. But what the Palestinians have had to endure over the last 70 odd years is no less than what's happening now, except for in higher volume.
Yeah. Can you imagine life without TikTok, right? Or Facebook or Instagram or even LinkedIn? It would be like, Hamas attacked and there's a conflict going on in the Middle East, and we would be looking or listening at that, and we see the reporter reporting from Gaza. There's a plume of smoke in the background. Yeah, there's a conflict going on, and then we would believe it's just a conflict. But now social media, we're live streaming. Hell is being live streamed to our phone, and we are witnessing that live. Thank God for social media.
Yeah, it obviously has its benefits. We've often talked about the negative effects of social media on this podcast, but these are some of the obvious positive effects of social media. It's the first time we're actually seeing a genocide being streamed live to us, and we get the other side and people's testimonies from within Gaza and actually sharing with the world what is actually happening, rather than relying on legacy media, because traditionally legacy media has been one which has pushed a certain narrative towards us, and we have no other option to believe but that, because we kind of assume they're going to be credible and independent and objective in
Yeah.
its findings. But one thing that this conflict or the recent events for the last year and a half or so have highlighted is the blatant bias of the media in favor of the Zionists.
Exactly. And thank God for LinkedIn, because in Facebook the content is suppressed, on TikTok the content is suppressed, but LinkedIn, thank you to the powers at be in LinkedIn. They've allowed a lot of this content still to come through on their feed, and that is just so good. In a perverse way, at least we can still see the suffering, and we're reminded that we should still be speaking about this day in, day out.
Yeah, 100%. Although I've also been shadow banned on LinkedIn recently. Usually I get hundreds of interactions on LinkedIn. A couple of posts ago, one of my posts recently, I barely got 3 impressions, which mean my post was only shown to 3 people, and only one person, I think, or no people had interacted with it by that time.
Yeah.
And it was quite incredible to see. On Facebook, it's the same.
Yeah.
I've been shadow banned on Facebook. I had the last night's event that we went to. A lot of people were saying, "Where are you? It's not Ramadan when you usually go off on your detox and you're not on social media. We don't see you much anymore." And this obviously a case of being shadow banned there as well, because if I'm posting, people aren't seeing my posts anymore. You get punished for speaking up
exactly
against atrocities like that.
I made a TikTok. This is last October, November time. At that point, the death toll in Palestine was 10,000 Palestinians killed. I made a post about how biased the BBC News is, and that video just went super viral, and then bang, it got cancelled.
Yeah.
And then after that, I put out a lot of stuff on Palestine, and it started to get suppressed even more and more, and I had to slow down a little bit.
Did it affect your other posts? So if you stopped posting about Palestine and you posted your normal business stuff, was that also affected, or was that automatically back to normal?
No, I just started posting about Palestine because I just couldn't bring myself to let's talk about business and success, and this is how you make lots of money. And over here you're seeing kids with their heads chopped off and blown to bits, and children and carrier bags being handed over to parents, to go and bury. That was sickening. And I just could not bring myself to talk about business and success and money during that time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think since October the 7th, I haven't posted about anything but Palestine on LinkedIn. I think that's been the case for me. Nothing but to do. And I've lost connections, former clients.
Good.
Because of that. And I say good riddance.
Yeah.
Because if they can't accept something so simple for humanity, equality for all people, then shame on you.
Exactly.
I'd rather not. I'd rather work with people and give them discounts.
Yeah.
Who are pro-Palestinians, who are pro-humanity, who are pro-justice.
Yeah.
And I'll work with them rather than people who aren't, and then have to, even if they pay me more money.
Yeah, you mentioned 2 very important words, pro-humanity and pro-justice. And the sad thing is, the whole of the Western democracy, human rights, civilization, we're a civilized nation or a civilized people. The humanity is just gone out the window, nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, 100%. I think, if anything, what the last year and a half it's done, it's exposed
the hypocrisy,
the Western hypocrisy about humanity and justice and equality. All those things are anecdotal. They don't mean anything in real terms. And we know, for example, these people in Israel, somebody wrote a post recently that Israel is the only country with a 3,000-year history since 1948.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of majority of these people who are these right-wing headbangers are Ashkenazi Jews. They've come from Europe, and they're not even Middle Eastern. Those who had come from Middle East, I believe there are 3-4 different sects of Jews who have come from different areas. Most of them who had come from Eastern Europe or Europe, the ones who had been suffering at the hands of the West's and Europe's racism, not our racism, not the Arabs' racism, not the Muslim racism, but the racism of the Europeans.
Yeah.
This is something important, isn't it? Right? So these people suffer from the hands of Europeans. They are European themselves. That's where they come from. And they've migrated to another land, which is already occupied, not a case of a place without a land without people for people without a land. It wasn't the case. There were already people there. It was their land. And they actually treat other Jews who don't fit them as lesser than them.
Yeah.
Like the Jews from Arab lands, like Iraq. There were loads of Jews in Iraq. And the Jews from the black community, the Jewish people, they're not treated the same as the Europeans.
Yeah.
And a lot of people outside of Israel don't even know that.
Yeah.
And what fascinates me is how Christian Zionists are supporting the cause of the Zionists.
Yeah.
Especially the Jewish Zionists. That surprises me.
The amazing thing is, to summarize everything you've just said, the Christian persecuted the Jew, but the Muslim had to give up his house thousands of miles away.
100%.
And where is the justice in that? No, it's just, where is the justice? It beggars belief.
Yeah, Hitler was a Christian.
Yeah.
And majority of the Western world follows the Christian theology. Yet, you're right, it's the Arabs and the Muslims who have to
Pay the price.
Pay the price.
And if they object to paying the price, they're classed and labelled as terrorists.
And anti-Semitic.
Yep.
What do you make of this this whole thing about people being labelled anti-Semitic for anything and everything?
I think the term anti-Semitic has lost its value. So, for example, Scotland were playing Israel at football last year, and there was a running joke in my WhatsApp group. I was like, "Oh, we better support Israel, because if we don't support Israel, we'll be classed as anti-Semitic." The term anti-Semitic has just been devalued. Previously, my understanding was it meant something like if you're speaking out against Jews or treating them, in an unfavorable way, whatever, that's anti-Semitic. But now any criticism of the nation of Israel and their genocidal policy, oh, that's anti-Semitic. Nonsense.
Yeah, 100%. And you notice how even in Europe, even now, those people who are pro-Zionists, they make it so obvious as well that they with what happened in Amsterdam. And it happened in Amsterdam. People from the politicians within Amsterdam, I think it was the mayor at the time, straight away blamed the migrant community and the Muslim community.
Yeah.
Without even acknowledging that it was these Zionists who went out and caused havoc in the first place. They pulled down Palestinian flags. They were shouting derogatory terms towards the Arabs, very filthy stuff. And they even started chanting things like, you know why there aren't any schools in Gaza? Because there aren't any children. We kill the children. Basically, stuff
Sickening.
like that. It's absolutely sickening. They even Sky News and some of the well-known media legacy brands, they used the material of this one particular photographer who was actually showing something of how somebody was being chased by a mob of people, but they twisted the story to make it out as though the person being chased was a Jew and the ones who were chasing were the Muslims, but it was actually the other way around.
Yeah.
It was a mob of Zionists
Yeah.
who were after the Arab guy or the Muslim guy, trying to get him.
I think you've got to admire the Zionist agenda of taking over the politicians, the media. They've basically bought their way into the fabric of the very fabric of the being of our country. Now, the politicians are bought. There's so many lobby groups. Like David Lammy, for example, can't bring himself to say the word genocide. He can't do it.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Same as Keir Starmer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same in America. America's even worse.
Yeah.
So they get billions of pounds worth of aid. That aid is then filtered back to the politicians to make sure that they then vote in the Zionist agenda again or support it again. billions of pounds are sent over again, and then that cycle just continues.
Yeah, 100%. And that's really sad that the American population, a lot of them can't see that. Billions and billions of the pounds that are being sent over into Israel for a country which provides free healthcare to all its citizens and all the luxuries, which the Americans themselves don't get. And that money could have been used for the American citizens to give them the free healthcare, to improve their amenities and improve their services. But they don't get it. But their money, their tax money, is being sent to a foreign country. Just like Israel and America, I usually refer to it as the United States of Israel. Just like the United States of Israel is always claiming, Iran and its proxies. Israel is the US. It's the state of the US. I don't see it any differently. And I came across somebody who once said, why is it that when they were looking for a place back in history, and the Balfour Treaty came into being, and they decided to have these negotiations with the Rothschilds, why didn't America give one of its states to the Jewish community? Why specifically that place? It was negotiated in the background because they were persecuted by the Western world, not the Arab world. Under the Arab world, they were treated justly. And I was watching certain documentaries about the history of the Islamic and the Jewish brotherhood throughout history, and the Jews actually prospered under Islamic rule, under the Ottomans, prior to the Ottomans, and they held very high positions. There is one Jewish scholar, even today he is referred to as one of the best theologians of the Jewish community. I think they named him as Rambam. He was a guy who spoke fluent Arabic. In his childhood, he actually went to a madrasa to learn the Islamic stuff. And he actually led the Muslim army against the Crusaders. And the Muslims followed him because he had such a high position within the Islamic community. So the cohesion between the Jewish and the Muslim community was very, very strong. I went to an event last year, a charity event, and there were some Jewish brothers who were originally from Iraq. And he was telling us stories about how if anybody used to come for them, the Muslims used to protect them. When they were children, Muslims and the Jews used to look after each other's children if the parents had to go out somewhere. They used to really have a very, very close relationship. So history suggests something else, but the narrative that's being pushed right now, because of the agenda, is that, why is everybody bullying one little state, the only democracy in the Middle East and the only state in the Middle East or any state in the world which belongs to the Jews? So they can't even make their own minds up. Are they a democracy or are they a theocracy? Because if they're a democracy, they'd give equal rights to everybody. But they don't. In Israel, there are no equal rights for everybody. There's equal rights amongst the Jewish community only, but not with the Arab or the Muslim community. And you can see the apartheid measures that are taking place over the West Bank and, East Jerusalem and Gaza. You can see these are places that they have control over. They are occupying these places. But even the Arabs who are living within Israel, they don't get the same rights. And this is what the community and the world at large is being sold or missold to say, we're a democracy. You're not a democracy. If you're a democracy, you'd give equal rights. There are no equal rights. But if you listen to one of their senior members, I can't remember his name. He used to be the ambassador in the UK for Israel.
Elon Levy, maybe?
No, before him. There was a guy, I can't remember his name. He still sometimes comes on, and Mehdi Hassan has interviewed him in the past, and they've spoken about several things. He actually admitted that, yes, we are an apartheid state, but you have to understand why. So he's basically justifying it. And then, based on all these things, we get to see institutes, credible ones, big ones, important ones like the ICC, ICJ, Amnesty International, declaring, you know what? Israel is committing a genocide. And all of a sudden, they're anti-Semites as well.
Exactly. You mentioned something. So my background is business, and I consider myself a business geek. I could talk about business all day long. I'm going to give you, the listeners, some business advice.
Sure.
If you want to make serious money, I'm talking mega serious money, get into weapons manufacturing.
Yeah.
Because the bills are in the trillions, and they're protected by government, by politicians, by secret acts. So you could get away literally with murder, and yeah, you're making billions of pounds at the same time. I don't know how anyone could work for those companies.
It beggars belief, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that's the reality, isn't it? It is an industry for weapons.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something else. People don't know this. Aid is a scam.
Yeah, you mentioned this the other day. What do you mean by that?
Right. Here we go. We've just given, for example, I'm just using round numbers, we've just given £5 billion worth of military aid to Ukraine. Okay, fine, that's good, that's noble. The government has gone to the weapons manufacturers, bought £5 billion worth of weapons. They've sent it off to Ukraine, and the government's left holding the bill of a £5 billion bill. Who's going to pay it? You and me. Ordinary citizens of the country, and we're going to be taxed to pay for that bill. So aid is a mechanism for wealth transfer, and the quicker people realize that, the better. It's the biggest scam ever.
And the irony of it is, we'll pay for it.
Yep.
But those who actually benefit from it, from a financial perspective,
Yep.
are the shareholders of these arms companies,
Exactly.
who often happen to be these oligarchs and these big wigs within our country and from others.
Yep.
who have similar interests.
And
in
they've
their
got
best mates.
control over the politicians, or influence with the politicians. And a lot of the politicians sit on the boards of these companies, which is why in America, so many of the senators, etc., are like multi-millionaires. They start off nothing, and then within a few years, they're like multi-millionaires. So the aid is a scam.
How would you propose this is how do you propose this is brought out into the open?
Through discussion like this.
Yeah.
It's very, very simple. I mean, who has to pay the £5 billion bill of aid that we've just sent to Ukraine? It's ordinary taxpayers. And the country is now at breaking point with the amount of tax that we pay. We pay tax on absolutely everything.
Let's just take a step back for a second, right? We're human beings, and we talk about obviously the things that are happening, the atrocities that are happening, and things like Palestine, Syria, whether you've got Lebanon and Kashmir and all sorts of different places. And then here it's almost like cognitive dissonance, isn't it? We've got something we feel so affectionate towards and moved by, and then here we are running in our lives, doing our normal day-to-day things, or trying to. How do you reconcile the two as a human being?
It's very difficult. I think the whole Palestine genocide has really made it very, very difficult. Because yes, and I'll give you the example again. We were both at a dinner yesterday, a black tie dinner, in a beautiful hall with beautiful food and really nice people. And we've got a billionaire on stage talking about multi-billion pound property portfolio. And then bang, I look at my phone and I see the entire sort of Gaza Strip just been blown to bits. And that just is a reminder. And we get these reminders on a daily basis. And I'm glad we do, because it really does humble us, that there's these atrocities going on in the world, and the stuff that we think is important, really, it's not that important.
It's not that important. We were also talking about death, our own death in general, how we come across people in our lives who we've lost people in our lives, at a relatively young age. We work hard and then boom, something can be over just like that. What would you say helps keep you grounded? Yeah,
so in a perverse way, I actually like attending funerals, because when you're standing there looking at the hole in the ground, that's where we're all going to end up. And see, the minute you extract yourself, that email, is it really that important? that material possession, is it really that important? That car, is it really that important? And yet, when we are in the real world, we do get carried away. I get carried away, but then it's so humbling, and it's such a good reminder that actually nothing in life is that important, because we're all going to end up in that hole in the ground that's 6 foot deep.
How would you say you help translate that message into your family and kids and stuff?
Do you know what? I'm going to confess, I'm not good at that. Because on a daily basis in our house, I would imagine in a lot of households around the country, it's a whirlwind. The kids come home from school, you get them fed, you do the homework, right, straight after homework. Yeah, some activity, then it's like the bedtime routine. Before you know it, you collapse in bed at 10 o'clock at night or 10:30. And we forget, that, and I think this is where religion comes in. I think it's good to just sort of slow down, remind, do your prayers, and just, connect with, everything around you.
How do you use religion to keep grounded?
I think it's a daily reminder. I'm not that religious. I was listening to one of your conversations and that went straight over my head. You were talking to, the gentleman on my left, Qasim.
Yeah.
That was like proper detailed level, sort of religion stuff that even, went straight over my head.
What would you say motivates you, if anything, to further explore things like that?
Age, one step closer to death. I'm going to be 50 very soon. And remember when we were young, you look at a 50-year-old and think, my God, you are ancient.
You're ancient, yeah.
That's us now.
You'd see people in their 30s and you'd think, oh, God, he's going old now.
Yeah, he's old.
Yeah.
He's old. Yeah, I think naturally as you get closer to, death, it becomes more and more part of your thoughts.
So talking about roles, talking about AI, talking about work and stuff, what are your thoughts on the role of women, pay gaps and that kind of thing?
Women footballers get paid less because they deserve to get paid less. I am a world leader. I'm a world-leading expert in the art of not giving a fuck. Anyone watching this, if you get good at the art of not giving a fuck, it will liberate you mentally. It is the best place to be. The jacket I wore here today is from Sainsbury's. My trousers are from Primark. My jumper's from Next. It's that level of sort of, I'm operating at that level. I couldn't care less.
This manifestation thing, this thing about visualize something and, you visualize it strong enough and the light will come to you and the world will work in your favor. What do you make of all this?
I don't believe any of it. I think it's visualization, manifestation, all of these hallucination, whatever it is. I don't believe it.
Any of these arts and sciences of psychology, psychotherapy, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, these are also BS,
right?
If they're not God-centric.
So the journey of entrepreneurship is not what is sold on social media, where it's all ups and ups and ups and cars and Lamborghinis and the trips to Dubai. It's far from that. I worked so hard for 6 straight years, no day off, no holidays, didn't have dinner with my wife for 6 years, hardly saw my son for the first 6 years of his life.
Let me ask you this then. When you did those 6 years, from morning till night, and sacrificed so much, in your mind, what were you working for then in comparison to what do you work for now? Why was having a successful business important? Why not have a reasonable income?
Yep.
Why not have a reasonable car? Why not have a reasonable house, a reasonable amount where you can still relax?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be the very best at the very top? Yeah.
That exact question that you're asking me, I was thinking, well, when is enough?
Yeah.
Why are you pushing it to that level? I don't know the answer. I can't answer.
How would you say you could use AI in the industry that you're in?
Very early to say at the moment, but I can guarantee you one thing, based on historical data, AI is going to be mega big in 10, 15 years' time. Let me tell you why.